wonderful universe, it's Jennifer here at Eureka Astrology and Healing, and today it's February 12th, 2022, and we're doing our Moon Mindfulness Challenge as always. I missed our Gemini video, and I'll talk a little bit about that in the check-in and how the moon has been affecting me and some of the energies. But we're going to move forward with Cancer because I want to stay on task and on beat. When I do the phrases, because right now we're talking about the phrases of each sign, I will do both Gemini and Cancer because I don't want to miss Gemini's phrase, because they're all equally important and one leads into the other. So with that, first I'm going to do some aspect check-ins, then we'll do the phrase check-in, and then my check-in. With that, so first, the moon's going to be moving into Cancer today. So the whole theme will be, this whole video is going to be that theme, so we don't have to go into that too much, but really the themes that are going to be emerging in these next 2 days is about caring for ourselves, caring for others, feeling our emotions, processing our emotions, being connected with them, and finding our emotional security. These are going to be overall themes for the next 3 days. But in with that, I'm going to talk a little bit about now the aspects. So today, this is not involving the moon, but it's really important to note because this is something we've been talking about. So Mercury conjuncts Pluto in Capricorn. So if you remember, Mercury conjuncted it once when it was going forward a couple months back, then it went retrograde a few weeks ago, and it went and touched on it again, and now it's moving forward for the final time, doing its third pass over. So something that we learned, something that we went back and reviewed, changed maybe our mind on what we thought about authority, our authority, how we take responsibility, especially in the thinking realm, maybe in our communicating realm as well. It's doing its final pass over Pluto, so it's kind of like a crystallization of all those things that we've learned and processed. And so it's really important because today I got the message, I said speaking your truth first. It's just like saying the things that need to be said, whether people like it or not almost. It doesn't have to even be a truth, but maybe the things that you've uncovered that were hidden, they were always truths, but like they just need to be communicated. They need to be put out there. Pluto's like, all right, speak your truth, speak what you found. You're going to find power in that. It's going to be really important to do so. So today I could feel that it's a really positive thing. People are starting to really focus in on what they've learned and what they need, especially around how they're going to present themselves in the world with authority, their own personal authority to others, as well as authority around them in the structures. I could see it as a little intense though too. Some people might find the words are harsh or not out of the blue, but because some of these things might have been hidden and kind of tucked away, very new and just kind of very abrupt. So be gentle with each other, please. Cancer, the Cancer moon as it goes in, be kind to each other if we can, and just take a step back. And people are really discovering and really going to be voicing what they need and what they see as important for authority. So hold space with that. Then tomorrow, Saturday the 12th, there's quite a few aspects. The moon opposes, so Mars and Venus are in Capricorn and they're about to be conjunct. And so that's going to be very dynamic. But like I said, we're still kind of in a Capricorn season, even though it's Aquarius right now, the sun's in Aquarius, there's so much of that energy in Capricorn. And so the moon will be in Cancer. So again, like feelings, emotions, what you need to feel, or what you need to feel emotionally secure and supported and held and nourished. And opposing is more of the authority. Like there's a desire to be out in the world, to be presenting themselves, presenting your desires for your own personal leadership and authority. So there's a pull of going in and out. And also there might be a little bit of a tug of war where there is a little bit of authority saying, all right, we're going to do this. We're going to rebuild this. It's going to be structured. It's going to have form. And it might be tough and you might have to just deal with it, right? A little bit more of the authoritarian parent where Cancer's like, but no, I just need to rest and be held and, have some warm food and snuggle up in some warm blankets. Like I do not want to go out. So there's going to be definitely a little bit of that tug of war tomorrow, and hopefully you can find your balance. There's always a point of balance for everybody. Just try to make sure that everyone's needs met. It's like, well, maybe, I can help you out with your bigger picture, but not today, or I can support you for a little bit, but then I have to go. Like I need to go take care of myself, because self-care is going to be really important. It always is, but in these 3 days, that energy is going to be calling to us all. The other aspects that I saw going on tomorrow is the moon is trine Jupiter in Pisces. And with that, that's a harmonious feeling, a good feeling. So we were talking about earlier on, the moon was making some good aspects to Jupiter and Neptune about building your dream, growing your dream, supporting it. This is more of nourishing it. You kind of put in that scaffolding, that foundation, and now it's about how you can nourish it in a really loving, gentle, caring way, not so aggressive, in a more of a comfort way. Like maybe you've built those things and you need to take a moment back and rest and just go like, okay, this is what I've done, and now I'm gonna go forward when I feel ready to go forward. Like just, being really kind to yourself, and like I said, creating that whatever you're creating with now nourishment versus maybe a little bit more of what was originally strong and just kind of powerful and going, and maybe not so much caring about the needs of the project, right? Like the emotional needs or security of the project, or what, your emotional needs are in the project. So it's a really positive aspect. Like, again, you've created something, now you're going to nourish it. Another positive growing thing. The next thing that we had is the moon is going to sextile Uranus and Taurus. I had to think about this for a little bit. Again, it's really about growing and nourishing again. And what I saw is that with the moon sextiling Uranus in Taurus, it's a different kind. It's not the same thing that we're building out there. It's about the values that we've been finding out about ourselves that are different, unique, that maybe have changed in the last few years, actually, because it's different in everyone's chart where Taurus, what house it falls into. But that energy, which can feel a little unstable, honestly, in Taurus, the moon's going like, okay, you found this now, like, and this is going to be happening. This happens. It's going to be happening for quite a few years, once a month. But it's still saying like, hey, this feels good. You can do this. You can support this. The things you found can be nourished, supported, and can make you feel good. So it's another really positive aspect to enjoy. Again, like I said, there are some tensions, but it's also really a great thing too. With that, I'm going to talk about the phrases. So as a little bit of a wrap up, be kind to yourself, support yourself. The things that you've been building and working on are going to keep going. Just maybe take your foot off the gas for a second and just enjoy some comfort. And so the phrases, with the first phrase is Gemini. So I know I'm going backpedaling a little bit here, but Gemini is really important, as all of them are. And we really want to make sure we see the larger picture of the zodiac through the phrases. So the phrase for Gemini is, I think. And that's no shock. Gemini loves to think. It loves to get information. It loves to pull in. And so at its core, it's receiving information. It's perceiving information. It is taking it in, and it also puts it out. One of the things that I wrote about it is it likes to communicate what it has learned as well. So that thinking part has an action part outside of itself. Like it takes it in, then it puts it out as well. It's not just holding it in, and well, hopefully it's not just holding it and letting it rattle around, because that's a lot of information to contain in one thing. But I wrote it as a perceiver, and the images I got was like the great scribe, the teacher, the storyteller, someone who is, I don't want to say regurgitating when it's taken in, but regurgitating. It's not philosophizing. It's not breaking it down. It's not synthesizing it. It's not creating something new out of it. It's using exactly what it has found. And so that's very important. Perception is very important for us in the thinking aspect of just taking in our surroundings. And, the Taurus was, I have. And so that was something that was calmer and more gathering. And then Gemini springs into action. It's like, all right, I have these things. Like, what's going on around me? What's happening? And kind of taking everything in, because now it feels stable enough to start moving out into the world. And so the shadow sides that I found for it is that information can be intoxicating, and you want more. That's very Gemini aspect. Just taking it in, it's all good. It doesn't matter if it's truthful. So sometimes, it regurgitates things that are not true because it just wants to take in information. Sometimes it wants to hear whatever it can hear, which could be gossip. And then so again, spreading untruths or toxic information that's not really putting good energy out into the universe. Or it's just taking in a lot of information that say is truthful, but it's really hard on the nervous system. Think of it, this is an electrical system, and it's just like putting up way too much voltage through it. It's way too much electricity, and it just gets fried. And it's like, and it kind of freezes up a little bit. So the dark side is gorging on information to the detriment of the physical, mental self. And then also potentially passing on untruths or gossips, because it's not really, like as we said, it's not really breaking it down, not really thinking about it so much. So the I think part of this is, really powerful, because we are thinking creatures, humans are. But we hopefully, as we go through the signs, we'll learn how to take what we perceive and use it positively, and hopefully stop and assess if we really need to share every piece of information that we get as well too, because the I think doesn't all have to go out. It doesn't have to all be communicated. There can be some filters put onto that. So then we move into now Cancer, right? So we started with Aries and I am, and it's the courage to be who you are and to move out into the world. It's very individual and independent on the self. And then it goes into Taurus, I have. So like there's this courage part, and then it goes and it's very fast and goes into something slow, like, oh, these are the things that I have that make my life value, and the things that I need that I value. And so then all of a sudden we speed back up again to Gemini, and that's opening us up to perceiving. So you have the things you need to feel like you can be in the world physically, and like what you have as well physically. And then you're starting to bring things in, right? Bring things in, put it out. Okay, I see this. I'm telling you that. Like, it's starting to bridge the world between the self and going into communicating. We're not talking about larger relationships yet, because it's still focused in on the individual, like I'm perceiving, right? And then so you've got the perception channel going on. I'm thinking about the things that I see, communicating it. Then we go into I feel. So that's really creeping us towards thinking about relationships and others. Still not yet though, because you've taken stuff in. So like that was a fast space, I think. And now you're going back into the slower. I feel goes deep, deep in. How do I feel about how I'm connecting to the world? That's one of the things that I think about with Cancer, is it's bridging the outside world into our inside world. And it's really, really important, because I almost feel that there's a consciousness to it. It's bringing in consciousness. I think maybe it doesn't bring total awareness of ourselves or our soul, where the I feel is starting to get a touch point into how I feel here, how I feel about connecting to out there, how out there works on my feelings, how do they affect my feelings? And, I feel it's hard to use words for I feel, because it's a feeling, it's not a thought. And it's so complex. And with the I feel, it's working on how you process feelings. It's different for everyone. It's very fascinating to see, like, when people have interesting placements in Cancer with certain planets or in certain houses, how the I feel really emerges. The moon can also work with that in your chart too. Obviously, the moon and Cancer are, linked. So it's just something to think about. Is like, okay, I feel versus the I think. And we're going to have another one after this, which is going to be quite different. It's going to be an outward. Notice we're going in and out, in and out. And the I feel can take us to compassion, can take us to understanding of ourselves. We're working on this with ourselves, but in the long run, it will work with others as well. So it's something to think about as we're going through these 3 days. Like I said earlier on, what are you experiencing? How is it affecting your feelings? Do you feel secure? Do you feel safe? What do you need to feel secure and feel safe? And with it, as I said, it's hard to use words for this. If you notice, I'm having a hard time finding the words, and I'm okay with that, because a feeling is a feeling, and it doesn't always need to be described. It needs to be experienced. Remember, it needs to be experienced. I said that twice because sometimes people don't experience their emotions. They think about them and they shove them aside, and it's really important to actually do whatever you do to experience that feeling, as long as it is safe for yourself and others. The shadow sides of this is that it can feel overwhelming. It can never feel safe. If they're always feeling things of other people, and they're bringing in the information that they're getting, say there's a lot of things going on. If you look at the world right now, if you're watching a lot of news, you probably will never feel safe, because you're seeing all the negative things, right? And those things are happening, to some degree. I'm not saying all news is accurate, but there are hard things happening in the world, let's face it. But there's also good things. And so we have to make sure, I would say at this time, the shadow part is not to fall into the darker shadow of focusing in on the harder feelings all the time. It's okay to have those and process those, but if we zoom in on those, it's a darker, harder place to be, and we would not feel secure. And the crab, the Cancer, Cancer really deals with security. So trying to make sure that you focus in on both positive and maybe more hard things that are in the world, like not focus in on it, but honor it, feel it, let it go. And then know that there is a balance right in this world. There's always dark and light, and that's how it is. The other hard part is And this is with Cancer in general, is that I feel when you feel a lot of things, it becomes very empathic. It can, I should say, for some people. And when you're starting to feel everybody's emotions, often you will feel the good things, but you know, people have hard days, all of us, no matter who you are. And then, so you say this person's I feel starts to feel all of the hardships of everybody. It becomes really overwhelming and they want to take care of, right? Cancer, I want to take care of you, I want to help you. How can I help you? You're suffering. And then all of a sudden they find themselves caring for a lot of people because they don't want to feel other people's feelings of pain and suffering, because then they feel the pain and suffering. So with this, becoming overly caring and then not caring for themselves and getting their emotions lost with others and getting blended, it's a really ungrounded and unsupporting and unnourishing thing for that person. So empaths, remember, it does no good for you if you're an empath to take on other people's emotions. This is really important to remember because it doesn't serve the other person because they need to process their emotions. And then it just gums up your whole emotional process and can lead you to having hardships as emotionally, you know, just stunting you and slowing you down and hurting you. Because if you're not getting those out, if you're just taking them on, then you're, say it's pain or sadness, then you're in pain and sadness and it's not even yours, right? It's no good. So those are the two shadow sides that I saw mainly with the I feel. For my check-in, I'm just going to be quick. So I missed my Gemini video. I had my birthday and Saturn has made it cycle around to my sun and I literally physically felt it. It has caused some muscular joint bone pain. Imagine that. That made it very hard for me to even move. And Saturn again restricting. And it came on fairly quick and it was pretty sudden. I was like, whoa, I'm doing better. I'm on the mend. I'm taking care of myself though. I actually did a very Cancerian thing, which I don't do often. And I just laid down all day yesterday, which happens once every like 10 years. And so I feel like I'm with Gemini. I don't know how it was, because it was Taurus going into Gemini, if it was the moon exactly. There was a lot of other aspects of my chart. I have a lot of major things going on. So I don't know if it was the moon, but I did feel like with that Gemini energy, you know, I'm a Gemini rising, I get that fast paced. I was not allowed to go fast paced. The Saturn kind of trumped it. It was like, no communicating, well, I had to do some communicating, no extra movement, no extra information coming in. You're just going to sit there and you're going to relax. And like I said, that kind of went from Taurus. I almost felt like I went from Taurus, which is like just sit there, and then Cancer, which is not just sit there, but it's like go in and rest and take care of yourself. So I feel like I'm not the only person that's been experiencing some things like this. I've been watching people around me and listening, and there's been some very sudden physical things, different kinds for everybody that I know, but almost like a call to be nourished. And so even though I know the moon is 3 days, I feel like there is a theme that's going to be emerging in the next few weeks, but this week and next week especially is like take care of yourself. And I don't know if it's because there's so much energy in Capricorn that it's kind of ricocheting. Everyone's kind of going out, and that energy is just kind of pushing themselves into a place of maybe not taking care of themselves as much, because Capricorn doesn't worry so much about taking care of itself. And so I'm wondering if there's a little bit of a ricochet effect where Cancer's like, hey, you know, right now the moon's there, but it's like, what about me? You know, you can't be out there all the time. And so there's a lot of people who might be pushing themselves really hard and then being called to take care of themselves, and maybe someone else too, because it's also a nurturer. So that's my check-in with it. Like I said, there's a lot of other aspects for me, but it's really important to take care of yourself always. If you don't take care of yourself, who will? I mean, like other people will, but you know how to take care of yourself the best. And when you do, when you're nourished, then you can help others with a solid center. With that, hit like or subscribe if you like what I'm doing. Write comments down below how the moon is affecting you, or how just the energies that in general are affecting you. Like I said, this is real-time astrology. We're checking in every couple of days to see what's going on, how we're feeling, and then just a little bit of education. With that, I'm Jennifer at Eureka Astrology and Healing. Ciao for now.